Hello, knowledge seekers. In this episode of 20-Minute Books, we delve into Why I Am a Hindu, penned by the accomplished Indian politician and writer Shashi Tharoor. This profound exploration is not just a personal narrative, but also a dissection of Hinduism, one of the world's oldest and most diverse religions. Tharoor, with his seasoned perspective, interrogates Hinduism's vast 4,000-year trajectory, methodically unraveling its historical threads of spirituality, philosophy, and cultural practice. His narrative is especially poignant in the context of the political climate at the time of the book's publication, marked by the rise of Hindu nationalism. Addressing the core values of acceptance and pluralism within Hinduism, Tharoor presents a robust argument against the contemporary wave of Hindutva, or Hindu nationalism, which he perceives as a distortion of these ancient principles. The book is an appeal to the conscience of India, urging a return to the rich tapestry of tolerance that once defined the nation. Not only does Why I Am a Hindu reflect Tharoor's sagacity cultivated through his roles in Indian politics and diplomacy, and illuminated through his literary ventures such as Riot and An Era of Darkness, it also stands as a manifesto for anyone passionate about the intricacies of one of the world's largest faiths, the intricacies of political ideology intertwined with religious belief, and the enduring quest for harmony in a multicultural society. This book is an enlightening read for politics enthusiasts, history scholars, and advocates of multiculturalism and tolerance, providing a comprehensive look at the heart of Hinduism and its place in the contemporary world. Join us as we unpack Shashi Tharoor's compelling case for Hinduism's true spirit and India's democratic ethos in Why I Am a Hindu. Why I Am a Hindu, an insider's guide to the history of Hinduism. Introduction: exploring the essence of Hinduism in modern India. The term secularism may conjure images of a rejection of religious beliefs, but in the vibrant tapestry of India, it has a distinct meaning. The Indian spirit of secularism is not about abandoning one's faith, but ensuring that the state remains impartial, cherishing the diverse religions that have coexisted in the subcontinent for ages. Now, this harmonious balance faces a challenge from the political doctrine of Hindutva, or Hinduness, which has gained prominence under the banner of India's governing party, the BJP. This ideology is pushing a revisionist perspective of Indian identity, one that seeks to marginalize non-Hindu communities, Muslims in particular. Author Shashi Tharoor highlights a concerning rise in social divide, the resurgence of conflicts, and an inclination toward intolerance. Even the iconic Taj Mahal hasn't been spared from cultural distortion. Amidst this ideological struggle, Tharoor argues, lies the need for a significant shift, a return to the core values of Hinduism that celebrate pluralism and accept diversity, unlocking the tradition of tolerance in Hinduism. In the heart of Hindu tradition lies a profound reverence for spiritual texts of all faiths. This eclecticism is not mere tolerance, but a genuine appreciation for the truth in various religious teachings. But recent movements have strayed far from these roots, aligning more closely with ideologies such as Nazism in their emphasis on purity and exclusion. The alarming parallels between Hindutva and such dangerous doctrines remind us of the urgent need for introspection and resistance to the currents of extremism. Hinduism, in Tharoor's view, is much more than a religion. It's a cultural ethos that inherently embraces plurality. To be proud of Hindu heritage doesn't mean forsaking the principle of toleration. On the contrary, it means upholding a legacy, valuing the acceptance of all walks of life, a principle that could steer India toward a future characterized by unity rather than division. Through exploring this historical and cultural richness, Tharoor invites us to reconsider what it truly means to be a Hindu in today's India, an advocate for an inclusive and respectful society that mirrors the diverse yet cohesive nature of Hindu philosophy throughout the ages. Part 1. Embracing the spectrum of beliefs within Hinduism. Imagine a landscape where every tree, every stream has its own spirit. This is the world of Hinduism, diverse and multifaceted in its divinity. The Western world is familiar with the monotheistic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, each grounded in the firm belief in a single God. However, Hinduism dances to a different rhythm, one rich with the presence of myriad deities like Ganesh, who clears hurdles, and Shiva, the force of transformation. But Hinduism's diversity isn't limited to its pantheon. Its sacred texts, such as the Bhagavad Gita and the Rig Veda, are as varied as the gods they discuss, and each Hindu is at liberty to engage with these scriptures in their own way. It is a highly individualized religion, where personal choice governs spiritual practice. In this realm of personal faith, all Hindus seek a common end, the pursuit of self-realization and unity with Brahman, an eternal, genderless force of ultimate reality. With no rigid doctrines to dictate their spiritual journey, Hindus explore various routes towards this sublime destination. One luminary who encapsulated this idea was Swami Vivekananda, a monk whose teachings resonate with personal inquiry over rigid orthodoxy. Vivekananda envisioned a religion of disciplined study and prayer, where the quest for divine connection was a personal endeavor, unfettered by predetermined paths. This principle of seeking personal truth is so profound within Hinduism that it extends to an acknowledgement and respect for different religious paths. As we delve deeper, it's evident that Hinduism's true essence lies not just in its gods and scriptures, but in its celebration of spiritual freedom and diversity. Part 2. A Legacy of Coexistence. Hinduism's Acceptance of Other Faiths. In the annals of history, Hinduism stands out as a beacon of inclusivity. Its followers have mingled with other religions for millennia, never demanding the exclusive veneration of their practices. As heirs to this venerable tradition of acceptance, Hindus throughout the ages have respected the sanctity of diverse spiritual texts, exploring and honoring them as additional avenues to enlightenment and self-discovery. The author's personal journey reflects this ethos. From a young age, he was taught to hold other holy scriptures, such as the Quran or the Torah, in the same esteem as Hindu scriptures. Each drop of wisdom, irrespective of its source, was treasured for its potential to propel one toward spiritual growth. A simple act, like seeking forgiveness for accidentally stepping on a book, epitomizes the reverence for knowledge ingrained in Hindu culture. Such a reverential approach has shaped how Hinduism interacts with other belief systems. Buddhism and Sikhism, for example, were not seen as competing ideologies, but rather as kindred spiritual expressions springing from the fertile ground of ancient Hindu wisdom. This open-hearted reception led to a beautiful exchange of ideas that enriched all involved. Consider Sikhism's origins. It sprang from the Bhakti movement within Hinduism, which celebrated the divine through love and devotion. Under Guru Nanak's guidance, Sikhism blossomed into a faith embracing equality among all humans, providing solace especially for those seeking refuge from the more stratified aspects of Hindu caste structures. Swami Vivekananda, an influential figure in Hindu philosophy, observed how Sikhism adapted elements from Islam, like the belief in one God and the pursuit of egalitarian principles, to form a bridge that retained the essence of Hindu spirituality even as cultures shifted. Buddhism, too, was not distinct, but inextricably linked to Hinduism. Vivekananda saw these religions as symbiotic forces, contributing to each other's depth. Hinduism provided the intellectual foundation, while Buddhism infused a heartfelt sincerity into Hindu practices. Echoing this synergy, ancient texts like the Matsya Purana recognize the Buddha as an incarnation of the Hindu god Vishnu, suggesting an age-old acknowledgement of the interconnection of faiths within the broader spiritual landscape of Hinduism. Part 3. The Rise of Hindutva and its Impact on Indian Politics. Since ascending to power in 2014, the BJP, or Bharatiya Janata Party, has overseen an era marked by a pronounced shift away from the long-standing ethos of tolerance that was synonymous with Hinduism. This turn towards a more exclusivist stance can be traced back to the party's core ideology, Hindutva, or the essence of being Hindu. But exactly what is Hindutva, and how did it come to influence a nation with such a rich tapestry of beliefs? Originally articulated in the early 20th century, during the times of India's struggle for independence, Hindutva emerged as a counter-narrative to Mahatma Gandhi's vision of a unified interreligious community. The man who etched the concept of Hindutva in the national consciousness was Vinayak Damodar Savarkar. In his work, Essentials of Hindutva, published in 1923, he positioned Hindus as the rightful heirs and oldest residents of India, consequently marginalizing other religious groups from his vision of Indian citizenship. Then came M.S. Golwalkar, who further cemented the Hindutva ideology with his work, We or Our Nationhood Defined. For Golwalkar, Indian culture was innately Hindu, and thus, true Indian identity could not extend to those who did not partake in Hindu cultural practices. This rhetoric, which continues to resonate with the BJP, equates national belonging with cultural conformity. The irony becomes apparent when we consider that the very ethos of Hinduism is one of acceptance and plurality, values that stand in stark contrast to the Hindutva narrative. It begs the question, from whence does Hindutva derive its philosophical grounding, if not from traditional Hinduism? Surprisingly, or perhaps not, key influencers of Hindutva like Savarkar and Golwalkar drew inspiration from sources outside Hindu thought, including Nazi ideology. Savarkar expressed admiration for Nazi principles, as seen through his association with Indian Nazi sympathizer Savitri Devi, who proclaimed Hitler as a divine avatar. Meanwhile, Golwalkar admired the ethnic pride showcased by Nazi policies, something he deemed instructive for India. This adoption of foreign and fundamentally illiberal ideologies stands at odds with Hinduism's intrinsic values. As the BJP continues to define its political rule along the lines of Hindutva, it confronts its own tradition of cultural and religious diversity, a tradition from which it seems increasingly estranged. Part 4. The troubling climate for non-Hindu communities under the BJP regime. Navigating the political and social landscape of India has become increasingly perilous for non-Hindu minorities, with Muslims experiencing particularly acute pressures. The escalation of hostile rhetoric from influential Hindutva proponents within the BJP underscores this disturbing trend. One notable advocate of this hostile sentiment is Yogi Adityanath, Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh, whose political ascent was fueled by incendiary commentaries against Islam. Adityanath's past, marked by vitriolic outbursts and associations with fringe groups known for violent acts against the Muslim community, paints a stark picture of his beliefs. His polarizing suggestion to emulate President Trump's controversial travel ban further indicates a desire to institutionalize exclusion along religious lines. The impact of this rhetoric is tangible, extending beyond words into the realm of significant cultural sites associated with Islam. The Taj Mahal, an architectural marvel from the Mughal era and a jewel in India's crown, has suffered under Adityanath's lukewarm enthusiasm for its maintenance. Starved of needed funds and grappling with pollution damage, it stands as a poignant symbol of neglect in a city that itself mirrors the monument's plight. Agra, reliant on tourism that the Taj Mahal traditionally fueled, languishes from governmental disregard, a stark contradiction to the prosperity the BJP boasts to champion. The erasure of the mausoleum from official tourism literature is not an oversight, but a seemingly deliberate move, signaling a broader intent to steer visitors away from Islamic heritage sites. In this climate, the author argues, the BJP reveals a troubling indifference to the welfare of its citizens, placing ideological biases above the economic and social well-being of the people. Such policies reinforce an atmosphere where cultural vandalism and targeted prejudice against non-Hindu communities, particularly Muslims, are not anomalies, but are part of a systematic approach that threatens the pluralistic fabric of Indian society. Part 5. Hindutva's influence on social progress and India's liberal traditions. India, with its Hindu heritage, has historically celebrated a kaleidoscope of human experiences, including a wide spectrum of gender and sexual identities. Iconic images from Hindu mythology and ancient art, like the androgynous deity Ardhanarishwara and expressive sculptures depicting same-sex love, highlight this inclusivity. However, the rise of the BJP and its commitment to Hindutva has seen a departure from such liberal values. The ongoing battle over LGBTQ+ rights is a stark example. The persistence of outdated laws criminalizing same-sex relationships, a vestige of British colonial rule, remains unchallenged due to the Hindutva ideology's influence. Efforts by the author and others to bring legislative change in favor of gay marriage were curtly dismissed in Parliament, displaying a disregard for debate and progress. The controversy extends to dietary laws, particularly those concerning beef consumption, which intersect with the reverence for cows in Hinduism. The BJP has initiated an aggressive push towards legal restrictions on beef, despite the dietary autonomy Indians have historically enjoyed. This has not only infringed on personal freedoms but also escalated to violent vigilantism, with cow protection used as a pretext for attacks, especially against Muslim individuals. Sadly, this surge in violence is not an isolated trend, but corresponds with the BJP's ascent to power. Heart-wrenching stories, such as the murder of a teenage Kashmiri Muslim boy over his mere association with cattle transportation, exemplify the profound human cost of these ideological conflicts. Furthermore, India's international image has suffered. Once known for contributions to science and innovation, recent years have seen the BJP's leaders make statements that undermine the country's intellectual heritage. For instance, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's comment on the origins of plastic surgery, using Hindu mythology, might have held a grain of historical truth about India's medical advancements. Still, his tying of this to Hindutva only serves to muddle India's prestigious past with present-day political agendas. In sum, Hindutva is not just redirecting the cultural currents of a traditionally liberal society, but also impeding the progression of rights for marginalized groups and distorting the narrative of India's scientific legacy. Part 6. Rekindling the true spirit of Hinduism beyond Hindutva. The crux of the matter, and the heart of the author's indignation, lies in the perversion of Hinduism by the political doctrine of Hindutva, an ideology that has distorted a religion known for its compassion into one marred by instances of cruelty and violence. This dissonance leaves many Hindus grappling with how their faith, grounded in ahimsa, the principle of nonviolence, could be invoked to justify such atrocities against human beings. For Hindus to reclaim the sanctity and inclusivity of their religion, the author urges them to take a stand against the wrongs perpetrated in Hinduism's name. It's about rejecting the warped representation of their beliefs and vigorously defending the foundational Hindu values of acceptance and peace. This call to action isn't about diminishing the pride Hindus have for their rich history and cultural contributions. Rather, it's a plea to celebrate and emphasize the positive aspects of their heritage, like the enduring commitment to tolerance that powered India's past triumphs. The Indian civilization gave the world groundbreaking scientific insights, including estimates of the Earth's age that predated Western calculations by centuries, and a numerical system so advanced it was adopted far beyond its borders. Yet, Hinduism's legacy is not one of conquest or forced conversion. It's one of cultural exchange, intellectual expansion, and profound respect for the pursuit of knowledge. In light of these historic feats, the way forward, according to the author, is clear. Hindus must disentangle their religion from the political aspirations of Hindutva and champion the true spirit of Hinduism, one that does not impose but instead inspires through its example of unity, diversity, and enlightened understanding. Final summary. In essence, the message that echoes through the narrative of Hinduism today is a stark reminder of the divergence from its inherent values of compassion and harmony. Hinduism, a faith built upon the pillars of tolerance and acceptance, faces the challenge of being redefined by those who have strayed from its core principles. These forces seek to erase the rich tapestry of India's pluralistic heritage, target minorities, and threaten the unity that has always been the strength of the Indian ethos. The adversary of this cultural legacy is not an external power but an internal ideology called Hindutva. It has rebranded Hinduism with narrow, exclusionary beliefs that betray the religion's true character. The repercussions are being felt across the nation, affecting not only the marginalized, but also tarnishing the spiritual and intellectual legacy that Hindus justifiably take pride in. The onus, therefore, falls on Hindus to rise up and reclaim the soul of their faith. It is an imperative call to distance their religious identity from the aggressive nationalism of Hindutva and to reaffirm the core tenets of Hinduism, a religion that respects differences, celebrates diversity, and has left a mark on the world not by force or conversion, but by the quiet power of its achievements and ideas. In the end, for Hinduism to flourish and for India to stand proud on the global stage, the author urges Hindus to return to their roots, to stand up for a Hinduism that upholds the universal values of peace, learning, and inclusivity, eschewing the divisiveness of Hindutva, is to pave the way for a brighter, more united future. Thank you for joining me today on this journey of learning and discovery as we explored the insights of another thought-provoking book in our growing library of knowledge. If you've enjoyed our time together, please take a moment to follow our podcast, give us a 5-star rating, and share 20-minute books with other knowledge seekers. Your support truly means a lot. Don't forget to join me again in the next episode, where we will delve into another enriching book. Until then, happy reading and happy listening.